We're under a week until March, and there's so many narratives out there about Purdue from being a first-round exit to a national championship favorite. It's time to do a reality check on the Boilermakers.
You are Locked On Boilermakers, your daily podcast on the Purdue Boilermakers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Locked On Boilermakers here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, the number one sports podcast network where it's your team every day. I am your host. I am Nick Arvin. I talk Boilermakers every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network, the only daily Purdue show out there. Also write about Purdue for Purdue 24/7. And it's going to be a fun episode headed your way today because there are so many narratives out there right now about what Purdue is going to be as we get down to this final stretch of the season and more importantly in March Madness. So we're going to get through those today, see what's real, what's fake, and what this team can genuinely be in the offseason. And if I believe they're national championship contenders. So we're going to lead off with that today. Then we'll get into our Big Ten outlook, what other teams are looking to do as we get into March. Are they hot, cold, lukewarm? What are they? What can they be? That's going to be our second segment, and we'll end off today's episode with our keys to beating Michigan State, and that's going to be a huge game coming up on Thursday. So I appreciate you guys being here with me today. And today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Mazda. They put that same drive into every detail, wins to find the moment, but putting in the work that defines you. Stay tuned for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. And once again, thank you for being here with me today. This episode is going to be a reality check about the Purdue Boilermakers. And the reason why that's necessary is because there are so many different narratives out there right now. I hear people saying that Purdue is going to be a first-round exit. I hear people saying that Purdue is going to win the national championship. So I wanted to get on here today and tell you guys what I believe this team is going to be with just 4 games left now in the regular season, the whole postseason ahead of them. It's the best time to be a college basketball fan, and in my opinion, the best time to be a Purdue fan. But that begs the question, is Purdue a national championship contender? Can they make it back to a Final Four? Or is this just a great regular season team, a team that has a ceiling of another Sweet 16? And I think the answer is a little bit more complex than surface level. I don't think there's just a cut and dry answer to that question because we have seen at times throughout the regular season that the Boilermakers have been outmatched compared to physical teams like an Iowa State or like a Michigan. Those two teams going to be at the top of the bracket this year. Michigan right now definitely a lock to be a number 1 seed. Iowa State hovering right around that 2 seed with Purdue. So you could probably avoid an Iowa State, may have to face off against Michigan, but the point still stands that when going up against physicality, this is a Purdue team that has struggled. So when you're giving an overall outlook for how far the Boilermakers are going to get in March, how many games can they win, you have to factor that in. But also, with that being said, you're not going to have to play all of those teams. As a high seed, Purdue is probably not going to have to face off against a ton of top-tier physical teams like we've played against in the regular season. And a thing that a lot of people don't talk about when evaluating the Boilermakers is that they've played one of the hardest schedules in all of college basketball. You have a Big Ten schedule. You also have Alabama, Texas Tech, all of those tough non-conference games that Purdue had to play to add on top of that. People don't talk about that, but that's something that prepares you for March Madness. And now as we look at Purdue, Joe Lunardi just recently seeded the Boilermakers as a 2 seed again, with Houston losing that game earlier, Illinois falling off with a crazy loss to UCLA. I don't necessarily know if there is a path to get up to a 1 seed, but there is certainly a path to have the best opportunity as a top 2 seed to make a run. And that's right now where Joe Lunardi has the Boilermakers set at as a 2 seed facing off against Utah Tech in that first round. If you make it past that one, you have the opportunity to play either Utah State or a UCF. Both of those games very winnable to get to the Sweet 16. And if you go up to the other region, Greenville, it's going to be Louisville. Missouri is the 11 seed. Kansas, with Darren Peterson labeled DNP right now, I think there's a really good opportunity that you could beat a Kansas, even with Darren Peterson playing. You could absolutely beat a Louisville. So right there, that's your path to the Elite Eight as a 2 seed. Just because you're not a 1, that doesn't take anything away from the opportunity to get there. And just because we have struggled at times against top teams in the nation, that also doesn't mean that Purdue can't make a run, because it's all about the path you have. And as a top seed, I think that Purdue is going to have a really good path. The 1 seed right now in the region is going to be a Duke. Assuming they make it there, that's going to be a crazy Elite Eight matchup, and one that the Boilermakers are going to try their best to win. That just goes to show, though, that it's not as cut and dry as you would think. I think that this Purdue team is a very great regular season team, a team with experience, a team with leaders, and a team that could beat anybody on any given night. And that's something that you want come the March Madness tournament. So I'm not necessarily going to say that they're a national championship favorite, because I do think that there are teams better out there right now than Purdue. But with that being said, there's no guarantee that you're going to have to play them. And I would give Purdue a leg up against almost any other team in the nation outside of those top 1 seeds. The expectation going into this season for the Boilermakers was championship or bust, and that was set by the players, adopted by the fans. Although it looks a little bit shaky right now, Purdue has momentum, winners of 5 of their last 6, and there's still an opportunity for that to come to fruition. Now, this hasn't been a team that has met that standard. It hasn't been a team that is going to be a 1 seed, in my opinion, going into March, or hasn't been a team that's been dominated at the top like a Michigan, even factoring in that Duke loss. But even still with that, they have the opportunity and they'll have the path to make it happen. So if you're a Purdue fan, I'm excited right now about the prospects of this run that's about to happen, and even the possibility to beat Michigan State. Maybe UConn falls off a little bit. You make a run in the Big Ten tournament, and before you know it, maybe that last 1 seed is open. All I'm saying is that everything is in front of Purdue right now. They haven't been dominant over the course of the regular season, but they've picked up resume win after resume win after resume win, winning at Alabama, beating Texas Tech on a neutral floor, beating Nebraska the other day. These are wins that you can hold up against anybody in the nation, and that's exactly where I would want to be come March. So throw the losses out the window, say these are your wins. This Purdue team can match up with anybody. I'm not saying that Purdue is going to be a boiling team coming into March. And in this next segment, we're going to label Big Ten teams boiling, hot, cold, lukewarm, cool on that scale. I'm not saying that this Purdue team is going to be boiling, that they're going to be the top team in the nation, that they're going to be hotter than anybody. But what I am saying is that they're probably in that hot tier. They can probably beat anybody. And given the path, given the right route, in the biggest crapshoot of all of sports, there's a chance that Purdue gets back to that Final Four, and with even more opportunity, gets back to a national championship. This is still a great basketball team. They're not dominant, but they might not have to be. I like Purdue against almost anybody, and that's going to show up big come March Madness. In this next segment, we're going to take a look at more of the Big Ten teams. We took a look at what Purdue is, the reality check there, what they can be, and establish that they're a great basketball team that can make a run if given the path. What about a Michigan? What about an Illinois? What about a Nebraska? We'll find out my thoughts on all those teams coming up here next on Locked On Boilermakers. But first, this is Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who show there's more to the score than what's on the screen, and our Mazda player of the game for the last game on Friday night against Indiana has to be Omer Mayer, who had 18 points, broke his career high, and was making everything from 3. Coming off of the bench, Omer reminded us exactly what it takes to raise the bar. It's that extra work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, and the I never quit. Well, we put that same passion into every model. Highlights make the reel. What it took to get there makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Have you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? Well, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. And here's how it works. Just use your profit boost on any NBA future and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. And I love futures this time of year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship or just grabbing a conference title. It adds that extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And if you visit FanDuel.com right now, you can get started. Just use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for a chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Now that we took a look at Purdue, we're going to take a look at the rest of the Big Ten. Give them a grade from boiling, hot, lukewarm, cool, or cold. We're going to see where I stack up these teams. Boiling is going to be, I think that this team could really make a run to the national championship, even be the national championship winner. Hot is going to be a team I think could make a Final Four, but it's going to take a good path for them. Lukewarm is going to be kind of in the middle, Sweet 16 ceiling almost. Still a team that could win games in March, but not a team I'm overly confident in. Cool is definitely going to be a team that might be on the bubble of making March, but not a team I necessarily see winning any games. And then cold is going to be a team I think has zero chance of doing anything in March. So before we get to that, I do just want to tell you guys about a couple cool things. The first of which being this is my first season here on the Locked On Podcast Network. First season starting up Locked On Boilermakers. So if you guys are new here, if you guys just haven't subscribed yet, want to like what you see, it is free. It helps us out a ton. So subscribe, like, comment. It all means the world. Thank you for that. And then the second thing is the Locked On Podcast Network and the Locked On Boilermakers channel is providing the Everydayer Club. I'm sure you guys have heard of it, but if you haven't, it's a great opportunity for all the everydayers out there that absolutely make this show go. And what it is you're already going to get ad-free Locked On Boilermakers content that you already love. And on top of that, you're going to get my favorite part, which is access to the Everydayer exclusive Locked On Boilermakers and Locked On Podcast Network, Locked On College Basketball, Locked On Big Ten. You get it all. Discord chats where you can talk to me, talk to all the Everydayers. It's a fun time in the Everydayer Club. So make sure you get in there. I'll leave that link down below for you guys. But without further ado, let's get into some of these Big Ten teams, where I've got them, and overall, my grade. Are they boiling? Are they hot, cold, cool, whatever? We're going to get right into it. And I'll start out with Purdue. Go ahead and get that out of the way. I think I made it pretty clear in the previous segment, but I think that Purdue is a team that is hot. I don't necessarily see them as being boiling as of right now. I still think they're a team that could absolutely make the Final Four given the path to do so. But with that being said, it is going to take a little bit of luck in terms of who do they have to play. I don't know if I think Purdue could beat a Michigan if they had to play them again, or if they could beat a Duke necessarily. There are tough matchups in there. So it is going to take a little bit of luck. But with that being said, I still think that Purdue is absolutely a team that has the opportunity to make it back to a Final Four. I guess we'll just go top to bottom here from now on, or I'll mix it up a little bit because I don't want to stay all at the top. We'll go Iowa. Iowa's a team right now that is 9-7 in the conference, a team with Bennett Sturts, Tavion Banks. They have a solid basketball team, but can they go far? This is a team that I think is lukewarm. Now, I think that they can make the tournament, possibly make it past the first weekend into a Sweet 16, but Bennett Sturts can only do so much, right? He can't provide the offense that's just going to carry him over a 2 seed or a 3 seed. That's just not the reality of this Iowa team this year. So as good as Iowa has been at times, as good as Bennett Sturts has been, an all Big Ten nominee, in my personal opinion, I don't see them making it out of the Sweet 16. So I'm going to say that they're lukewarm. UCLA is going to be a team I'm struggling because they just came back on Illinois, and I'm not a big Mick Cronin fan by any stretch of the imagination, but they did beat Purdue. With that being said, I think that this is a team that's just cool. I think that they can make the tournament, but I'm just not sure that they're going to be able to win, especially if they have to travel somewhere, because a lot of their wins are Big Ten teams having to make that West Coast trip and then just being exhausted by the time they have to play UCLA. So I'm going to give them a cool grade. Indiana is a team that I also give them a cool. I think that they can make the tournament, but I don't see them winning any games. They may not even make the tournament. I'm hovering between cool and cold right now. Lamar Wilkerson is a heck of a basketball player for the Hoosiers, but I still don't know if they have enough talent to be able to make the tournament, much less win a game. So I'm going to say cool just because I want to be unbiased, but they're probably more like cold. USC is a team that, much like in Indiana, they are probably not going to make the tournament, right on the bubble. But if they do make the tournament, likely not going to win a game. So I'm going to give them a cool. And then everyone below them, Minnesota, Washington, Rutgers, Maryland, Northwestern, Oregon, and Penn State, all of those teams are going to be cold. And I don't feel like we necessarily need to go too in depth for them because none of those teams are really going to make the tournament, in my opinion. Maybe Minnesota if they get lucky, but I don't see any of those teams being over 500 this year. And all of those teams are towards the bottom of the Big Ten. So I'm really not going to get into my grades for them. Ohio State is an interesting one because we're going to play them later here in the season after we play Michigan State. And this is a team that is solid. Like, they're not bad. The record is a lot worse than the talent that's actually on the floor. And Bruce Thornton has been great for them all season long. 20 points in 27 games played. He plays 36 minutes for them, more than anybody else on their team. He is really breaking out this year as a great basketball player, averaging 20. And then when you go lower than that, you got Devin Royal, who's talented, Christopher Tilley, who's averaging 11 points at the center position. Like, this Ohio State team is really solid. I think that they're lukewarm. I don't necessarily see them making it to an Elite Eight, but with the right bracket, I think that they could. I really do think that this Ohio State team could make a run, and I'm a little bit scared about that matchup when we go travel to Columbus to play them later on. I believe that game's in March, but still later on in a couple weeks. Man, that one's going to be tough. I'm really high on this Ohio State team, so I'm probably going to give them a lukewarm grade. They're hovering in between hot, though. I really am high on this team. They almost knocked down Michigan State the other day. They did beat Wisconsin, which we're going to get to. It's one of the hottest teams in college basketball right now. I'm kind of hot on this Ohio State team right now, but it'll definitely be something to keep an eye on. We hit Ohio State, Iowa, UCLA, Wisconsin. Now, this is a fun one. I can't wait to talk about the Badgers because to start out the year, I would have said that this is a team in that cool range where they could make the tournament. I don't necessarily know if they could have won a game, but right now they're hovering on hot. They beat Illinois after barely losing to Indiana. They beat Ohio State. Then they travel to Illinois. Like I said, they beat them. They beat Michigan State, just lose to Ohio State, and then bounce back with the win over Iowa. Blackwell has been incredibly good this year alongside Nick Boyd. I didn't necessarily know if that would happen. And then you add in Nolan Winter to the equation, who's shooting like 57% from the field. He's crazy talented. This Wisconsin team is one to look out for teams ranked top 25 in the AP poll. I'm probably going to say hot. I really think that this Wisconsin team could go places this year. They're a very talented basketball team. They have 3 different scorers that can get it done for them. Man, I think that this Wisconsin team is hot. I really do think that they can make a run, maybe make it to the Elite Eight. I see them definitely making a Sweet 16, though. I think they're seated right around a 7 or a 6 right now. I'd have to recheck, but I do think that they have a good chance of making it pretty far this year in the tournament. So I'm going to say hot for Wisconsin. And now we get into that top tier of teams. Towards the top, Illinois is one that I'm just going to say hot for. I don't think that that's a team right now. They had that crazy good stretch, and they have plenty of great bigs. Evicic is crazy talented. Keaton Wagler, amazing as a freshman. He showed up at Mackey Arena. But with that being said, this is still a team that I don't necessarily know if they're going to be able to make a deep run, just because I'm a little bit concerned about that defense. Much like for Purdue, the defense is kind of concerning. I see the same for in Illinois. There are still some concerns there, in my opinion, and that shows up when UCLA comes back on them. It's still a team that can make the Sweet 16, make the Elite Eight, but not a team I think is going to be able to make the Final Four this year. So I am going to give them that hot grade, much like a Purdue this year. Could make a run if they have the right path. Nebraska is one where I'll also put into that hot tier, but I I'm trending a little bit more towards lukewarm. I think that they're a great basketball team, and they showed that when they went 20-0 to start out the season. But they've taken a little bit of a step back, and I feel like Purdue exposed that on the road where they're not the most physical team. If you stand your ground down low, stand and bang in the post, you have the potential to out-rebound them. So I feel like if Nebraska faces off against a good front court, a big center, and they just can't get boards, there is an opportunity that Nebraska goes out early. Nebraska would be my pick out of these teams who get upset in the first or second round. So I'm not the biggest on Nebraska. I'm going to give them that lukewarm towards hot tier. Michigan State is one where we're going to see in just a few days at Purdue exactly what they are. I still think that Izzo teams are going to go far in the tournament, so I'm going to give them a hot grade. It really just all depends. There's a lot of different factors surrounding Michigan State, and once again, we're going to figure that out. Jeremy Fears is the big storyline out of them in terms of tripping people all the time. There's a whole montage for Jeremy Fears trips. Man, I really think this Michigan State team is good. Is Purdue better? Once again, we'll find out in just a couple days, but I think that they're hot, can definitely make a run to an Elite Eight. And then Michigan, they're going to be boiling. The only team in the Big Ten right now that I have is boiling. I still think even with the loss to Duke that they are the national championship winner this year. As of right now, they're so talented. The defense is so good, and Dusty May can just throw anything at you. It's hard for me to pick against the Michigan Wolverines right now, and I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to say Michigan is boiling hot and that they will likely be the national championship winner coming out of the Big Ten. But that's our Big Ten outlook. I hope that you guys enjoyed this segment, what I think about all these teams contending to make to March Madness and ones that want to make it even further this year. In this next segment, we're going to get into my keys for beating Michigan State. How do you win that game and overall cement your 2 seed, potentially keep you in the running for a 1? Well, that's going to be coming up here next on Locked On Boilermakers. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, that inbox overflowing, in the one position you have to fill still sitting open. Well, when the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for our sponsored jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your posts. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have already made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about it Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? Well, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. We're back for the final segment of today's Locked On Boilermakers, and as we end out today's show, I wanted to take a look at my keys to the game for beating Michigan State on Thursday. Now, we'll have a full preview episode out with Matt Sheehan of the Locked On Spartans coming out tomorrow, but as I said, today, I want to get into our keys because I'm so excited about this basketball game. Let's get right into it. And the first one, probably going to be the most notable, the one that everyone is going to talk about, is that point guard battle. And it's going to be winning in the backcourt, more specifically, winning that point guard battle. It's Braden Smith versus Jeremy Fears. And I would say a lot of people out there would say that Braden Smith is the best point guard in the nation. Now is your chance to prove it against a Jeremy Fears that a lot of other people say he could be the best point guard in the nation, or at least one of the best point guards in the nation. They play a similar way, but a different way as well. Braden's going to want to get to that mid-range jumper, going to want to pass the ball around. Fears the same. He's going to want to pass the ball around, get the ball inside, can make threes. But here's the difference. Jeremy Fears is very physical. Braden can be physical at times. He can pick up matchups, but I don't necessarily see Braden Smith tripping people on a game-to-game basis. So it's going to be big for Braden Smith to handle that physicality well and to match up against Jeremy Fears. Take that matchup head on both offense and defense. Spread the ball around. Become a shoot-first guard. That's what Raphael Davis said when he came on the show. When Braden Smith is confident enough to get to that mid-range shot, let it go early, then the playmaking is going to open up for him. That's something against Michigan State and specifically against Jeremy Fears, I think is going to be huge. Getting to that mid-range shot and then spreading the ball around, passing all over the court. If you're able to do that, make that attack multi-dimensional for Braden, I think that we have a really good chance. So the first key for me is going to be that point guard matchup. Braden Smith beating out Jeremy Fears, proving that he is the best point guard in the nation. My second key to the game is going to be rebounding the ball. And that really should be a key for almost every game that Purdue plays, because when Purdue rebounds the ball, and obviously they're going to be better, but it just changes the trajectory of these games so much, from wins to losses, losses to wins. That's what rebounding does for your team. And against a physical front court, Michigan State teams by Tom Izzo always rebound the ball at an extremely high level, and this squad is absolutely no different. Jackson Kohler is averaging 9.3 rebounds, dang near averaging a double-double. You got Cohen Carr, who's averaging 5, and then their center Carson Cooper is averaging 7.4 rebounds a game. That's a lot. That's a lot of rebounds. Those are 3 guys that can attack you on the boards. Purdue really only has 2. It's Trey Kaufman-Renn and it's Oscar Clough. So those 2 guys definitely need to stick up. Trey Kaufman-Renn needs to assert his physicality down low, say, hey, Jackson Kohler, you're not going to out-rebound me. I think that he could do it. I think that he has the opportunity to do it, but we're going to need more guys than just Trey Kaufman-Renn and Oscar Clough to be crashing those boards, because I expect the guards of Michigan State to be crashing the boards. I expect those 3 forwards to be crashing the boards. They have a lot of guys that can rebound. So for us, we're going to have to pick up that slack somewhere. And if that means Fletcher Lawyer or Braden Smith crashing the glass, getting rebounds from the guard spot, then that's what it takes. That's what it takes to win. And I want to see that. If CJ has to get the ball inside and get a board, that's okay. But you absolutely have to get defensive rebounds in this game. Allowing Michigan State to crash the glass offensively, you can't do that. It's a non-negotiable. You have to at least rebound on the defensive side in this game. So rebounding, especially defensive rebounding, is going to be my key. And then my final key to beating Michigan State will be being physical. Physical Tom Izzo teams. That's what Michigan State will always bring in to Mackey Arena. And so far, Purdue has typically matched up pretty well with it. But this year, in a squad where physicality is really the big question surrounding this team, if they can make a run, can they match up against physical teams like a Michigan State? Well, Thursday is your opportunity to prove it. Jackson Kohler, can Trey Kaufman-Renn match his physicality? Can Braden Smith match the physicality of Jeremy Fears? This is your opportunity to prove it. This is your opportunity to prove that the concerns are not warranted. You have the physicality to match up with the best of the best. You're strong. You're fast. That's what Purdue has the opportunity to prove on Thursday, and that's going to be my last key to the game in this one, is you have to be physical. You have to go into Mackey Arena, say, this is our house, and win that game from start to finish. Don't let up. Foot on the gas for 40 whole minutes. If they're able to do those 3 things, there's no doubt in my mind that Purdue will able to beat Michigan State, knock off the Spartans, and pull off a huge win for cementing their seeding in not just the Big Ten tournament, but March Madness as well. The biggest game left on Purdue's schedule at this point, 8 p.m. Eastern on Peacock. Unfortunately, but we'll still be there. Make sure you guys tune in because you're not going to want to miss it. I can't wait for that game. And once again, we will have a full preview episode headed out tomorrow. Michigan State versus Purdue. Matt Sheehan of Locked On Spartans will be coming on the show, and we'll be talking that one up a little bit, giving our predictions, so you're not going to want to miss that one either. Make sure you join us tomorrow for that preview episode. But with that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. I appreciate you guys joining me once again for this episode of Locked On Boilermakers. If you guys are new here, just haven't hit that subscribe button yet, make sure to do that. Like, comment. It all helps us out a ton. Thank you guys. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. You absolutely make this show go. And as always, boiler up. Hammer down.